I own a commercial Christmas decor business that leases those big mega Christmas trees and all the big decor that goes with it. And we do the big airports and casinos, hospitals, town centers. You've probably seen a lot of that stuff. But we have 5 full-time employees, and we ramp it up to about 50 during the holidays. Last year, we did 1.3 in revenue, and this year we're on track for about 1.8. And we currently have no debt on the business. But what we do have is very little space, and we are busting at the seams because when all that stuff comes down, we have to store it. We're running out of space. We currently lease 3 different warehouses, but it's really inefficient because of the locations. And we're wanting to build our own, but we don't want to go in debt to do it, and we're kind of looking for a little guidance on that aspect.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. The business is profitable. You're also considering going into the real estate business for no apparent reason. It's not necessary to run your business that you own the land. It's just always appealing to own real estate for most of us. I like real estate. And there's no requirement, though, that you own property to be successful in business. The business can lease throughout the perpetuation of operating. So the first thing I would do is don't get yourself in a real estate transaction that cramps your style. That the real estate starts telling the business what to do instead of the business telling the real estate what to do. An example would be, let's say you bought a warehouse today and you had the cash and you paid cash for it, did it properly, that would house everything you have today, but no more. Well, the first time you get ready to grow, you're going to have to go lease something in addition to what you already own.
Sure.
Because you'd be full. Mm-hmm. Even if you bought something that was a little bit bigger, when you fill it up, you're going to outgrow it eventually, or you're not growing. And so you're going to end up at some point either making so much profit that you can just buy real estate and not think about it, or you're going to have real estate starting to the ownership start to constrict the proper operation of the business. I'll give you another example that's not in your industry, but where I see it a lot with EntreLeadership folks. The restaurant business. A person will have a good restaurant operation. They'll buy a building in the proper place, a good location, and 15 years later, it's no longer a good location. But they refuse to move to the good location for the good of the restaurant because they own this piece of dirt and bricks and mortar. So the real estate begins to tell the business it doesn't need to move when it does need to move. Mm-hmm. So this is the kind of things you can get into when you mix real estate ownership with a small business operation. Not saying don't do it, I'm just saying be aware. So all of that speech to say, what would I do in your situation? There we go. Mm-hmm. Now, what I would do in your situation is I would find a good, large warehouse that is exactly what you want, where you want it, and I would lease it. And I would try to find a good, large warehouse, larger than what you need, and lease it with the option to purchase it sometime in the next 5 years.
So we've been exploring that. That particular scenario seems to be really tough in this area.
It's tough everywhere.
Yeah, to find
you have to find an owner who wants to lease but is also willing to sell. Usually they want to do one or the other. Mm-hmm. I found it many years ago when I bought the original building we moved into. The first time I did this, I leased a building for 5 years. I closed on the building at the end of that, but I had to talk that owner. He had an empty building, and we were only going to take half of it as a tenant. But I talked him into it because of I just kept shopping until I found somebody that was a motivated seller. And actually what he was really looking for was a tenant. But in order to get the tenant, I had to twist his arm and go, I have to have an option to purchase. I don't have the money, or I would just offer you the money today. So you don't have to worry about my option right now because I can't do it. Boy, by the time that 5 years went by, though, I scratched every nickel together and closed on the deal because it was a great deal. But the and then that building, we outgrew it, and I got constricted, like I was talking about earlier. So I've been through what I was warning you against. So, listen, I would rather you rent the right thing at the right place and then just move every 5 or 10 years to the right size and always be a renter than go into debt and buy something and be trapped in it.
Sure.
So it's just more flexibility for the business. The business gets to do what it's supposed to do, and rent is not your problem. You got other problems that are opportunities for profit, much more than doing away with the rent of the warehouse space. Right now, what you've just got a bad configuration of everything you're renting. It's in bad spots, and it's split up all over the place, and it's inefficient. If it was just all in one lump and you were renting it, you probably wouldn't even have bothered with this discussion.
I probably wouldn't. You're right. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find the right thing to rent. Then second, I'm going to keep shopping and shopping and shopping, and I'm going to propose absurd things to the owner. Now, if the owner of a lot of warehouses these days have been bought up by REITs, and you're not going to get an option to buy with a REIT. They're not going to do that. Not to get a tenant. They just want a tenant. And but if you can shop around, and here's the thing, you don't have to have. All it's got to be is safe and dry. It doesn't have to, where it is, other than proximity to your main customers, doesn't matter. So you don't have to be in like the Rodeo Drive of warehouses. You could be in a dumpy end of town as long as it's safe and it's dry and it doesn't flood. You know, I mean, it's basic stuff. And it could be an old warehouse. It could be something you have to put some money into because the guy that owns it doesn't have any money. And I did that. I put $300,000 in tenant improvements into that other building. I got reduced rent for that, and I got an option to purchase because he didn't have the $300K to put into it, or he was too tight to do it, one of the two. Probably the second one with him, but he's a good guy, but man, wow. So anyway, that's the thing. That's how I would look at this, and a really, 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 really good question, sir. Very well done, Mike. Congratulations on all your success. Proud of you.